.9 FM and AM 820. It's Marketplace. We'll be back with all things considered at 7 o'clock tonight. On Point is at 8 p.m. Wind advisory is in effect in our area. Be safe when you head out there, especially on those roads tonight. Wind gusts of about 45 or 50 miles an hour possible. It's going to get pretty chilly, too. Overnight temperatures in the low 20s. Tomorrow, a little bit cooler, but still warmer than what we saw last week, so that's something. We'll see highs in the upper 30s. It's WNYC on Wednesday at 6:30.
Support for WNYC comes from Shepherd Mullen, serving clients in Manhattan for over 20 years. With more than 1,100 lawyers globally, Shepherd Mullen helps companies address today's legal, real estate, business, and regulatory challenges. More at shepherdmullen.com.
This is WNYC 93.9 FM and AM 820, NPR News and the New York Conversation.
Marketplace is supported by Bitwarden. Making an enterprise password manager a business investment priority can strengthen workplace security and make the most of IT budgets in the new year. Learn more at bitwarden.com.
On the program today, interest rates and older workers. Between them, honestly, pretty much the future of this economy. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by The Economist, devoted to providing independent journalism that makes sense of the news shaping the world. More at economist.com or with The Economist app, newsletters, and podcasts. And by Clear Channel Outdoor, an out-of-home billboard company harnessing innovation and technology to connect advertisers with consumers. Clear Channel's data-driven solutions reach consumers on the go. Billboardsforbusiness.com. And by Amazon Business, aiming to help save time by offering smart business buying solutions so there's more time to focus on growing the business and less time doing the admin. More at amazonbusiness.com.
In Los Angeles, I'm Kai Rizdal. It is Wednesday today, 29 January. Good as always to have you along, everybody. We are going to go back to Tennessee, our series, The Age of Work, about the changing and aging demographics of this economy in the second half of the program. But we begin today in the halls of monetary policy power in Washington, D.C., Fed Chair Jay Powell's press conference.
I think our policy stance is very well calibrated, as I mentioned, to balance the achievement of our two goals.
Policy stance in Fed speak, of course, means interest rates. Two goals means maximum employment and stable prices.
We want policy to be restrictive enough to continue to foster further progress toward a 2% inflation goal. At the same time, we don't need to see further weakening in the labor market to achieve that goal.
Cutting to the chase, reading between the lines, pick your metaphor, no change in interest rates today. Powell says the economy is doing fine. They're going to want to see more data before they decide when or, to be clear, whether to cut interest rates again. Now, about this particular moment in this economy?
Economic forecasting is really difficult beyond just a month or two out. So in the current situation, there's probably some elevated uncertainty because of significant policy shifts in those four areas that I mentioned: tariffs, immigration, fiscal policy, and regulatory policy. So there's probably some additional uncertainty, but that should be passing. We should go through that, and then we'll be back to the regular amount of uncertainty.
Yes, the regular amount of uncertain. It should be noted here that question number one to the Fed chair today was about President Trump and his demand, that's the president's word the other day, for lower interest rates. Powell was not interested.
I'm not going to have any response or comment whatsoever on what the president said. It's not appropriate for me to do so.
He has not heard directly from the president, the Fed chair said. Wall Street on this Wednesday. Traders, honestly, they were a little cranky even before Powell started talking. We will have the details when we do the numbers. Jay Powell told me once in an interview, if I could name drop here for just a second, that one of his rules to live by is to control the controllable, which is to say, set aside as best you can that which you cannot control. And fiscal policy, things that Congress and the White House are in charge of, tariffs, immigration, deficits, that falls squarely in the Fed's no control category. What the Fed does control is monetary policy, and specifically the federal funds rate. How the economy actually responds to that rate, though, and interest rates generally, that's a little more complicated. Marketplace's Matt Levin is on the interest rate sensitivity beat for us today.
Housing is supposed to be the most interest rate sensitive sector of all the sectors. So when the Fed cuts interest rates, people expect mortgage rates to also go down. But when the Fed did cut its rate 3 times over the second half of last year, mortgage rates went up.
Fed cut short-term rates by 100 basis points, and longer-term rates like mortgage rates went up 100 basis points. You look historically, that's not typically what happened.
Michael Fratantoni is an economist with the Mortgage Bankers Association. Housing wasn't all that sensitive to the Fed, partly because mortgage rates are tied to what the federal government pays to borrow money, and those rates are going up.
Global bond investors getting honestly concerned about deficits, debt.
It's not just bond vigilantes harshing Jay Powell's mellow. When the Fed sets rates, it's really setting the interest rates banks pay to borrow from one another, and those rates ripple through the rest of the economy. But Thomas Urano at Sage Advisory says nowadays, businesses don't have to go to banks. They can go to private credit or private equity.
The number of people who are willing to extend loans, right, outside of the banking system, that has seen prolific growth over the last 5 years.
Consumers have also proven pretty interest rate resistant. Olu Sonola at Fitch Ratings says that since the pandemic, the big spenders are rich enough to avoid borrowing money to buy stuff.
When you think about the sensitivity of high-income households, and they do the bulk of the spending, not much this time around.
To be clear, Sonola says the economy overall is still sensitive to the Fed, just not as sensitive as he thought it was. I'm Matt Levin for Marketplace.
Tariffs came up in Jay Powell's press conference today, and as he usually does, the Fed chair steered well clear. There are, after all, a great many unknowns about what President Trump is going to do until he does it. Canada, Mexico, China, they've all been in the tariff mix. Tariffs were threatened against Colombia over the weekend, and then they weren't. Uncertainty is one way to put all that. So we got our tariff regular on the phone, Gretchen Blau. She's a customs brokerage manager at Logistics Plus in Erie, Pennsylvania, to hear how things are going.
Just a lot of wait and see, a little bit of confusion mixed in, a lot of answering questions for customers that we really can't answer, just kind of trying to, reassure them that we're all in the same boat. No pun intended, but just it's kind of frustration on our part because we like helping people. And when we don't have answers, we feel a little frustrated. People need some options. One thing we run into already is the quotas for steel and aluminum. They're on a quarterly basis. After so many kilograms of steel from the UK, Japan, and the EU are in the US, the quota shuts down, and then the 25% steel tariff kicks in. Well, since there was so much anticipation of the confusion in January, people put a lot of their steel in bonded warehousing. So when they took it out at the beginning of January, it's caused the quota to be closed already 3 weeks into the first quarter of the year. Depending on how desperate they are for the steel, they might have to pay the 25% duty or possibly export it back out of the U.S. and explore their options from there. I'm considering turning off the notifications on my phone because it gets a little stressful here and there. But that's not really an option because we do have to try to keep up with what's going on from a practical sense that we need to be able to tell people, what to do, how to make plans if it's possible. once there's any kind of policy as to the tariffs, we're going to be, really jumping in and helping out our customers because that's what we're going to need to do.
Gretchen Blau, Logistics Plus, Erie, PA. We're going to pick up now where we left off yesterday with our new series, The Age of Work, about what it's like to live in an economy that is getting older. The U.S. population, as you probably know, is on the cusp of a massive demographic change. The share of working-age people shrinking compared to the wave of retiring baby boomers. Neela Richardson, chief economist at ADP, joined me in Cumberland County, Tennessee this past fall to see what that looks like in a place where the change is already well underway.
Economists love to say this, demographics are destiny. Mm-hmm. And so what Cumberland represents is that tension between an aging population and a workforce who is struggling to keep up.
Cumberland County has one of the oldest labor forces in the country. That's according to ADP's data. But it's happening for maybe not the reasons you'd think. Yes, the local population is aging, but it's also a retirement destination for people looking to escape northern winters. A lot of those people moved to a retirement community in Cumberland County called Fairfield Glade. We've talked about that. Today, though, we're going to look at two companies in Crossville, the town next door, very much aimed at the local population. Okay. Save a Lot. Save a Lot is a very community grocery store.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Melvin. How are you? Nice to meet you, sir.
Owner Melvin Davis is standing by the bread racks and the shopping baskets when we get there.
I've been a grocer for 40 years. Time's just flying by.
The place isn't huge, just 4 check stands and pretty narrow aisles compared to some of the big grocery chains.
How's business? Good, I imagine.
It's steady. It's steady. We just had Good Samaritans here and picked up $3,500 worth of product right off the shelf to take to North Carolina in the morning.
To help with the rebuilding efforts there.
Sure has.
That is great.
You're going to hear from Cumberland Good Samaritans, that organization he mentioned, a little bit later in the program. But the main reason we came here to Melvin's grocery store is because of the service that he provides 5 days a week.
Senior discount days, 7 a.m. to noon. You see a lot of that traffic?
We do. Our seniors seem to get up a little earlier in this area. We needed to have something for them to do.
Yeah.
They joke about not buying green bananas, but they're steady shoppers.
You have to think about that one for a second, and then you're like, oh, that's really dark, actually.
Oh, man. So inflation, how has that affected your client base, your seniors? And are they noticing that prices aren't going up as fast? Okay. They've noticed the price increase. Have they noticed the fact that it's not going up quite as much, or are they focused still on the price increase?
I started out as a bag boy, and so I've been doing it a long, long time. And, I've sold a box of crackers for 49 cents for 4 decades. That box of crackers is almost $2. I make less money at $2 than I did at 49 cents. So I watch my customers come in. They're very, very careful what they shop for, what they're buying. They'll go buy the meat case, and they're like, I'd like to have that roast, but I'm not going to spend the money. So
those crackers are not going to be under 50 cents ever again.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So
your clientele that's coming here, right? I mean, we've been spending some time over in Fairfield Glade with some retirees who have some disposable income. You seeing them come and share some of that with you?
We have a great mix. This program is set up for low income and fixed income, but we're servicing a little bit of everybody.
Melvin's got about 22 employees, some of whom have been with him for 40 years. The youngest are high school kids making minimum wage, $7.25 an hour.
I've always felt like most small towns are letting their biggest resource slip away from them. You've got graduating classes of 200, 300 seniors, and they just disappear. And I think you should grab them at their freshman year and start taking them around and showing them all the business in town. Forklift drivers, mechanics, technicians, and show them that there's work here. In my business, the downside is that the margins are so lean that once they finish working for me, I wish I could keep them, but they got to go on.
I think he wants a basket.
Oh.
There we go. Sorry about that. The people who work and shop in this store are facing the same economic forces all of us have been dealing with the past couple of years: higher prices and labor shortages. But there is something else happening here specifically. Demographic changes, both from the local population aging and the new people moving in.
Now, would you like to walk through the store there?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Show us what's going on.
I want to introduce you to Miss Teresa.
Hi, Teresa. How are you?
No, I'm kidding.
That's all right.
She's the store manager.
How are you?
Nice to see you.
to meet
Hi,
you.
how are you?
I'm Neela. Good to meet you.
How long you been here?
40 years.
Is that right?
40
Wow,
long years.
You were a kid, weren't you?
She's 18 when she came.
Yeah.
Why'd you stick around?
I love doing what I do.
Now, as you go through the store, what happens is you find a family of workers and you drill down. So now we have Teresa's sister, Teresa's mama's in here. And we've worked all the nieces and the nephews, all the grandkids, all the sons, all
It's
the
a labor
daughters.
pool, man. Your family is like a whole labor pool in and of itself.
This is an extended family business. Like
My mom is the 79-year-old back there, and she said a while ago, I have to leave to go to the doctor. And I said, that's okay. Seniors go to the doctor. So she has to leave.
So you gave your mom time off to go to the...
Yes, she'll be leaving here in a few minutes.
We did run into Teresa's mom, Eula, a little bit later as she was unloading produce.
Keeps me young.
I was just going to say, can I ask you how old you are?
79.
And in this family business, a lot of things still get done the old-fashioned way. They use a buzzer system to call bag boys instead of the intercom. Workers get paid with actual physical paychecks. No direct deposit here, thank you very much.
There's something special about walking in and getting your paycheck.
But as much as things have stayed the same in this community grocery store, the community around them is changing. That's after the break. But first, let's do the numbers. Dow Industrials off 136 points today, 0.3%, closed at 44,713. The Nasdaq shed 101 points, about 0.5%, 19,632. The S&P 500 slid 28 points, again about 0.5%, 6,039. T-Mobile climbed 6.33% today on better than expected fourth quarter earnings and revenue. The telecommunications company also issued optimistic full-year guidance as it reported strong customer growth figures. AT&T gave back about 0.7%. Today, electric vehicle maker Rivian slowed 2.3%. Research firm Bernstein initiated coverage of the company with an underperform rating. Bernstein said the automaker seems to be years away from making a profit. That cannot be good. Bonds rose, yield on the 10-year T-note down 4.53%. You're listening to Marketplace.
Marketplace Numbers is supported by Rubrik, cyber resilience for unstoppable business. Rubrik.com. Marketplace is supported by Glassdoor, announcing the best places to work in 2025 based on anonymous reviews from real employees. Learn who's leading the way in employee satisfaction and see who's hiring at glassdoor.com/best places to work. And by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is currently looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who are interested in building a career and joining an inclusive and unique culture. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
WNYC is supported by Intrepid Travel, a B Corp offering small group trips guided by local experts. Travelers can see the Tuscan countryside by bike, share tea with a Berber family in Morocco, or cook with locals at a Costa Rican farm stay. Learn more at intrepidtravel.com.
The thing was, like, I already knew what nightmare awaited me on the other side of that door, from tabloid front pages and horror films and true crime documentaries.
Join us for stories of disturbing hunches, Twitter storms, and what happens when things blow up. That's on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
Tonight at 9 on WNYC.
You're listening to Marketplace on WNYC. In the 7 o'clock hour of All Things Considered, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faced fierce questioning about vaccines, abortion, and Medicaid in his confirmation hearing to be health secretary. We'll get the latest on that at 7 o'clock.
This is Marketplace. I'm Kai Risdall. We're continuing with our reporting this week from Cumberland County, Tennessee, a place with a high concentration of older workers because a lot of retirees are moving to the area, and that is changing the local economy. But the demographic changes happening here are eventually coming for all of us.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
That's Mickey Eldridge. She's the executive director of Cumberland Good Samaritans, a social services organization that's been around for 45 years. She has been running it for 25. You remember how earlier Melvin Davis at Save-A-Lot Grocery said somebody had picked up $3,500 worth of goods for hurricane victims in North Carolina? Well, here it is.
Over here, we've just purged this. We're sending a lot of food right now. We're buying a lot of stuff heading out to hurricane victims.
When a big disaster hits, Cumberland Good Samaritans collects and distributes donations. And in the months after Hurricane Helene, they sent 2 to 3 trailers a week to people in affected rural communities. Their main focus, though, obviously, is closer to home.
When a client comes in to Good Samaritans, they're just telling us what their needs are. They don't walk in the door unless they're having trouble either paying their rent or utilities, or if they've gotten a job, maybe they need help getting steel-toed boots or, a uniform that they're not going to have a paycheck for a while. And so they need help getting squared around until. But then we look at the bigger picture and ask, what else do you need?
Would you do me a favor and characterize need in this place as broadly as you want to define it?
Well, need depends on the person that walks in the door. What we do is take them and look at how we change their circumstance or situation. I have job developers. If somebody needs more income or just income period, if they're job searching, it may be that it's a single parent or grandparents that have taken on raising grandchildren. We have a lot of grandparents that we work with.
They fund all this work through donations and revenue from a thrift store.
I have 25 employees and about 100 volunteers. We have a lot of programs, but most of my volunteers are seniors, and most of them just want to continue to be productive and make a difference in retirement.
I was wondering, you talked about you see a lot of grandparents coming in, trying to make ends meet. How did they become grandparents who are raising their children? Can you fill out that story for us?
Well, you're in an area, and it's not uncommon, I don't think, to the rest of Tennessee or any other state in the nation. We have a lot of people that have struggled with drug or alcohol abuse, and grandparents have to step up and take over. And so for the most part, those grandparents are already living on fixed incomes. And Social Security was never intended to be your retirement. But for many people in rural areas, Social Security is their retirement income, and they go get part-time jobs to supplement for what they need.
How have the recent retirees, the people who are moving to Fairfield Glade and to Crossville from bigger cities, how has that changed the economy, if at all?
Well, Fairfield Glade in particular has been a really great boost for Cumberland County, because these are folks, and it's interesting because so many of them sold homes where they were and got a lot more out of them than they would pay for a home here. But they invest in the community. They're involved in our churches, and I got to be honest, the reason we have so many successful nonprofits in this community providing services and making a difference in lives is because the retirees that have moved here still want to be productive and make a difference, and they're very generous with their time, their hands, their money, and they're supportive of the community.
And that's the paradox of the economy here in Cumberland County. Retirees moving in have driven up the cost of living for the people already here. You remember Melissa Ellis, the musician and mom of 4 that we heard from on Monday?
We were looking at someday we'll buy a house. And since 2020, with the massive housing market, the jump, I cannot imagine any time in our near future, if ever, that's ever going to happen.
But at the same time, all those transplanted retirees have created jobs, and they support organizations like Good Samaritans with their time and donations.
Let's go see the thrift shop. Can we do that?
Oh, wow. It's got racks of clothing.
Everything in this thrift store is donated. People
and an
pull up
endless variety of stuff lining the walls.
Rugs, mattresses. I got a lot of pair of tap shoes.
This is what we call the workshop. When somebody pulls up at a back dock and drops it off, this is where it all starts.
Oh, wow. Look at all of this.
That pile's all clothing.
You've got a throughput problem because there's a pile of clothing there that's 12 feet high.
And 2 or 3 times a year, we get it worked down that you can see the floor. But I'm telling you, I just keep telling my staff, that's job security. I need you. I need you.
I grabbed a couple of workers as they were sorting barrels of clothing from that big pile.
Can we chat for a moment? Would that be all right?
Yes,
Wait till my
that'd be
friend with the
fine.
microphone gets here. Tell me your name.
Ann Lewis.
How long you been here, Ann Lewis?
I started last November 14th.
Oh, so you're a newbie.
Yes, I'm a newbie.
My goodness, why are you here?
Well, I had retired and I found myself, after my husband passed, I found myself just sitting at home, not doing nothing. So I came down here and I got the job and I absolutely love it.
Like Mickey said, some senior workers are here because they want to be. Some of them, but not all.
What's your name?
Kathleen,
What you doing, Kathleen?
and they call me Kat.
All right, I'll call you a cat. What are you doing?
I am sorting
Why do you do it?
because I have to pay for my bills,
Yeah.
my home, medical, and you can't live on Social Security.
Can't live on Social Security.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah. Are you from around here?
I was raised here, went to kindergarten and high school, graduated here, and it's like home.
What was it like when you were growing up here?
Oh, a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
A lot different. Things have changed.
It's busier life is, I imagine.
Yes.
Demographic changes brought on by the aging U.S. economy have created both opportunities and challenges in Cumberland County. And as we've been saying all week, the changes we're seeing here are just the leading edge of a shift coming for the U.S. economy as a whole.
Thanks, Kat. I appreciate it.
What is your name?
My name is Kai. We're from Los Angeles.
Oh,
Doing
yeah.
a story we work on a radio show about business and the economy. And we're talking about the workforce, the labor force, and how it's getting older and what that's going to mean. And you're part of that older labor force.
I am.
How old are you?
I'll soon be next year 77.
You look great for 77, Kat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's this job keeps me younger.
Good. I'll let you get back to it. Thank you. Sorry to bother you.
No, that's fine. Thank you, and enjoy Crossville, Tennessee.
We have so far. We've been here since Monday.
Tomorrow, Neela and I are going to reflect a bit on what we learned in Tennessee to wrap up this leg of our series, The Age of Work.
Marketplace is supported by Dialpad, helping businesses deliver customer support with AI-powered tools that provide real-time agent coaching, call summaries, and customer sentiment analysis. Designed so support teams can deliver a better customer service. Dialpad.com.
This final note on the way out today, you have heard me mention, I'm sure, David Brancaccio and our morning report and how you ought to listen to him. You ought to listen tomorrow, especially, for the first in a series of stories as David and his wife Mary rebuild after the Eaton fire.
I look around and now all I see is all the hard work it's going to take to bring it back. And I'm wondering if I still have it in me to do it. If I'm still young enough to do it.
What do you do when the biggest investment of your lives turns to ash? Tomorrow on The Morning Show. Our media production team includes Brian Allison, Jake Cherry, Justin Dueller, Drew Jostad, Gary O'Keefe, Charlton Thorpe, Juan Carlos Tirado, and Becca Weinman. Jeff Peters is the manager of media production. And I'm Kai Risdahl. We will see you tomorrow. This is 8 p.m.
WNYC is a media partner of On Air Fest, the festival for sound and storytelling where multimedia creators